guys, this Z32 has been into us before. This go around with a new owner. So this owner went ahead and wanted to dig deeper, peel back the layers of that onion. And what we found is, to try to make this thing whole again, was we found the timing belt was way off, 2 teeth on certain cams. It had some really just trashy injectors, but besides that, the O-rings on the adapters were swollen, they weren't installed correctly, and this thing was pouring gas out, right out of the tailpipe. We've got some Nismo 740s in there now, new O-rings. We've taken care of all those issues, did a smoke leak test on this bad boy, found a plethora of smoke coming out of a bunch of areas. One of them was right underneath the EGR tube on the passenger side. Somebody had used too long of a bolt, so it had bottomed out and it hadn't put enough pressure on the actual 2-bolt flange and gasket. So it's just leaking out of there. We had some idle air hoses leaking, areas where there was something in the back of the intake manifold. It looks like this thing was a JDM motor at a certain point. So we fixed some of the leaks in the back of the motor, and we did the intake cam gears while we had the timing belt stuff all apart. So this thing is running way better than when it came to us and under its previous ownership. So a few things to tidy up still, would be to get rid of those HKS blow-up valves, especially on a stock ECU, because this ECU and these MAFs are draw through. It's not the best thing to run BOVs on this thing, unless you go to a standalone where you have an MAP, a MAP sensor, then you're okay to do that. But even then, so I find it with a recirculation valve, putting it back into the inlet is gonna help you, because you're not wasting that air. It's going back into the turbo inlets, help keep the turbo spooled. So besides that, we've gone ahead and cleaned up some of the fuel systems, and we've gone ahead and also put it on the dyno to get a nice good tune on it now that a lot of the wrongs are right. So did much better. Nothing crazy done to this thing. It has basic stuff with exhaust. It's all small 2.5-inch stuff. So nonetheless, we crossed the threshold into 300 wheel. This thing was making about 240 wheel before, so we are up to about 323 wheel. So not bad for 12 pounds of boost and single pop basic exhaust modifications. So that's it. So all in all, running way better. And again, just because it's on my head, is make sure you change the oil when you have an O-ring or you have fuel going through the engine like that. You're just going to be pouring fuel into the crankcase. So make sure you change your oil. Oil was changed on this thing, but people don't think of it. They'll fix the fuel problem on the O-ring on the injector. And even if you change the oil yesterday, a week ago, whenever it was, you still got to change that oil, because now you've contaminated it with fuel, especially when you have so much of it going through the crankcase. It'll thin the oil out and you'll do a bunch of damage to the engine. So keep that in mind, guys. We'll take this thing around the block, make sure everything feels good, and we'll hand it off to its owner. Guys, little continuation on this Cherry Red Pearl Z32. Had a lot of issues. When I was putting the ECU back in, the customer had a patch harness, and what I noticed was on the side that goes to the factory harness connector, it's hard to tell if you don't really pay close enough attention, but when I was putting it all back together to button it all up, we'll get a little close-up of this, but some of the pins looked a little suspect. So whatever they had done to make this patch harness seemed a little odd, and I got rid of it, put the ECU directly to the harness, and bam, immediately when I started it, I could already tell it was running a little differently. AFRs were different. It was running a lot leaner. So what we ended up doing is getting it back on the dyno, getting rid of this patch harness. This just had an old AFC Neo that we were no longer using anyway. So we cut it out entirely and we retuned it. We didn't want to take any chances. When it's something critical like that, you just can't assume that it's probably going to be okay. So we found that it was running a lot leaner. So we didn't want to leave anything to chance. We got it back on the dyno, checked the tune again, and lo and behold, we did find a difference in the tune. So we went ahead and retuned it for this patch harness being gone. So there was a few bad connections. So, you know, you can literally just take one of these and it'll just pull right out. So there was a couple of these that were doing that. So we'll get a close up of it. In any case, back on the dyno, it didn't affect power, but it did affect our air-fuel ratios. So now that we've got that out of the way, just another little more work involved, but always want to dot the I's and cross the T's. So take a look at that, guys. This pin is just like that, right? Get it back in there, but you can see how bad the connections are, you know, just by doing that. And then you can see some of the protrusion of the pin too, right? So you don't even know if these guys are going to be moving around and touching each other. So touchy-feely with wiring is not what you want.